First, I'm going to go to mixamo.com and look for a jump animation. Maybe this. But I'm not going to download the entire animation. I'm going to trim it. Trim is a cool feature for Mixamo because I'm going to divide the animation into 3 parts. First, I want just the jump. Let me adjust the slider. 40, maybe 39%. 40 looks good. So I want the animation from right where he leaps off up to about here. I think that might be somewhere around 50%. Maybe a little more, 53. So 40 to 53% would be the middle of the jump. I'm going to write it down because I want to remember it. 40 to 53 would be the actual jump. And 0 to 39% would be the jump preparation stage. And somewhere around 54 to the end of the animation would be landing. So I'm going to download this. 160 frames. I'm going to rename it Jump Normal. Now I'm going to go back to Mixamo and I want 0 to 39%. 0 to 39. Okay, this would be the beginning stage. I'm going to name it Jump Normal Prep. Then I'm going to go back and I want the rest of the animation. Maybe 55. Maybe 56. 58. Okay, so that would be the landing. I'm going to name it Jump Normal Landing. So now I have one animation divided into 3. I'm now going to drag it into my Unity folder. Remember I had a folder just for Mixamo, so I'm going to drag 3 of these things in there. Then I'm going to go into each of them and change the rig to humanoid. So jump normal, I'm going to switch it to humanoid. Go to configure. Turn it into a sample T-bind pose. Click apply. And I don't want the materials. And I'm going to rename it here as well, Jump Normal. And these settings I will take a look later. So click apply and play the animation. Actually, I want to change this now. Change it into center of mass. Oops, original. Okay, that looks better. Then I'm going to do the same thing with all the other animations. Change it to humanoid, apply first, configure. Sample T-bind pose, apply, done. And I'm also going to rename the animation. This is Jump Normal Landing. And let me fix some of the settings here. And click apply. Okay, I forgot to change the material. We don't want any. So landing is done. I'm gonna go to jump prep, change the rig first, humanoid, apply, figure, define pose, apply, done, rename, and change a bit of settings, apply, check the animation. Okay, looks good. And I'm going to change the materials. Before I run the animation, I got to fix the code first. Let me go into character state. And instead of just update, I also want on state enter, as well as on state exit. Okay, I'm gonna look for the state, the character state, what was it called? State data, and I want each of the states to override on enter, as well as on exit, with the same parameters as update. Okay, let me look at the character state again. Animator state info. I also want this variable as a parameter. So I'm going to add it here, animator state info. Let me just call it state info for short. State info. And I'm going to do the same thing with all three of them. And once I save this, I gotta fix the code in the character state. Just gotta fix it accordingly. Animator state info. State info. And I'm gonna do the same thing with enter, the thing that I did with update. For each of the state data, be in the ability list, I want all of them to say on enter. And I'm going to pass on the same parameters. Oops. Animator, state info. Okay, and I'm going to do the same thing with the exit. On exit. And once I do this, every script that inherits from the state data has now got to follow this format. Unity should now give me an error message, a few. So I got to go in there and fix it. And do the same thing. Animator state info. For idle. Idle is also going to have on enter. And on exit as well. Save and go back to Unity. I have one more. And I do the same thing. So this one is moved forward. Okay, the errors are now gone. Now I'm going to go to keyboard input because I want a new button for the jump. And I'm going to use space. So if get input and space is pressed, you want the virtual input manager to say space, jump is true. Except the virtual input manager doesn't have a variable called jump. So I'm going to go in there to the virtual input manager. Again, F12 means you're going to go to the definition. And I'm going to say the jump is now another variable for the input manager. I'm going to go back to the keyboard script. A single bracket there. If space is not pressed, then jump is false. I'm also going to go into the manual input and pretty much do the same thing. If virtual input manager says jump is false, then I want the character control to say jump is false. But again, the character control does not have a variable called jump. So I'm going to find the character control. Here it is. And I'm going to add the variable there. Jump. Okay, I'm going to go back to the manual input and say if jump is not pressed, then jump is false. Okay, let me just check the buttons. So when I press space, jump is not coming up. That means I did something wrong here. Oh, this should be true. Okay. Let me go back and test it. Okay. So every time I press space, jump gets checked. Now I'm going to go into the animator for our character, and then I'm going to add the parameter here as well, bool, and I'll call it jump as well. And now I'm going to drag in the animations. These three: jump prep, jump, and landing. Basically, we're going to go from idle to prep to jump to land and back to idle. So I'm going to go into the idle script and say if the virtual input manager, oh no, I'm not going to use the virtual input manager. I'm going to use the character control. Okay, let me fix the code below. And then I'm going to say if character control says jump, then we change the parameter in the animator, set bool jump is true. And let me create the enum, press F12, jump, go back to the idle script and change this to the enum to string. Now I'm going to go back to Unity and create a transition from idle to jump prep. I'm going to look at the transition. I'm going to get rid of the exit time. I want the transition to be quick, so I'm going to zoom in to this graph and make the transition quick. And then I'm going to add the condition jump. So every time this comes up, we're now going to go from idle to jump prep. Let's test it. Okay, the character goes into the jump prep, but stops there because we don't have any transition from here to any other state. So now I'm going to add another transition, make transition from prep to normal. And again, we don't want the exit time. I guess we could have this relatively smooth. We're going to need another condition here. So I'm going to go to states, state scripts, and I'm going to say, I'm going to create a new C# script and call it force transition. Go into it. And it's going to be similar to all the other abilities. So I'm going to copy paste it and then delete this part. And I'm also going to change the name to force transition. Also change the name here. It's called force transition. And I don't want the speed variable. I want the variable that determines when you switch to the next animation. Hold on, I deleted too many things. So let me rewrite it. Okay, we need this. And instead of the speed variable, we need transition timing. This is going to be a percentage value. So I'm going to say its range between 0.01 being 1% to 1 being 100%. And then in the update ability, I say if state info and the normalized time is passed in this variable, that's when we switch. I'm going to go back to Unity. I'm going to add the new parameter to the animator, bool, call it force transition. So I'm going to go back to the script and say animator will change the parameter force transition and call it true. Upon exit, we want to turn it back to false. And again, let me change the string into enum force transition. Switch it here. Okay. Now go back to Unity and I'm going to add the condition force transition. I'm going to go to the states folder and create a new object called force transition and call it player jump normal force transition. And I'm going to adjust the slider. I'm going to try 80% for now. So 0.8 means 80%. I don't need this variable. I'm going to get rid of it. Go to state data. I don't need the duration. I need to add that object to this state. So I'm going to add the character state. I'm going to add the ability force transition. Okay, so we're going to go from idle to prep. And when that prep animation reaches 80%, it's going to go into the jump animation. Let's see if it works. I'm going to press space, prep to jump. And again, we're stuck at jump because there are no transitions from here. So click play again to exit. And I'm going to add another transition. Okay, adjust the curves. Landing is a little tricky because we got to figure out when the character hits the surface. So for now, we're just going to leave it as exit time and do the same thing. Make a transition to idle and just set up the curves. And we're going to leave it as is for now. So let's test what we have. Okay. So we're going from idle to prep to normal to land. Except it seems to be in an infinite loop. Looks like the jump parameter is always on. So I'm going to exit. And I'm going to create a script for landing. I'm going to go to state scripts. And I'm going to say a new C# script is called land. Landing Gonna go in there. And it'll be kind of like idle. So let me copy it. Copy paste everything. Get rid of the update here. And I'm just going to change the name to landing. Landing. Then I'm going to say when the character lands, you want the animator to set bool. Jump is now going to be false. Save and go back to Unity. I'm going to go to the states and create a new ability. Create landing. I'm going to name it player jump normal landing. Okay, and I'm going to click on the state, add the behavior, add character state. One ability is landing. Let's test it. Okay, looks good. So the character jumps, and then when he lands, jump is now false. So you got to press jump again for it to work. Let me look at it from the scene view. The preparation stage seems way too slow, so I'm gonna go to the animator and speed it up. I'm gonna say speed is 2. Let me play it again. It's a little better, but it's still kind of slow. I'm gonna go into the animation itself, and I want it to start at maybe 10%. Click apply. Let me try again. Seems a little better. It's way faster now. Landing also seems to be slow, so I'm going to double the speed. I like that better. But the feet are not aligned. So I'm going to go into the animator and click on foot IK on everything. This should align the feet a little more to the ground. Let me take a look again. I think I need to edit the animations a little bit. So go into prep. The orientation doesn't seem to match. So maybe 10% here. 10 degrees here. Idle seems a little bit high. Bring it down a little bit. Oh no, it's not here. Bring it down a little bit here. That's the right spot. I'm gonna go to prep. And I'm gonna bring it up a little bit. Prep seems okay, but the landing's a little weird. So I'm gonna change it here. Turn it 10 degrees. And bring it up just a little bit. I'm going to exit play mode, and I'm going to add another force transition for the landing. Force transition, player jump, normal, landing, force transition. That's a long name, but I don't know what else to call it. Again, maybe I'm going to try 80%. Create another slot and add in the force transition. Let me try it again. $80 might not be enough. We haven't added the parameter yet. And we got to get rid of the exit time. So let me try again. Okay. That's a little too much. 45%. 40%. It seems a little better for me. Let me change the graph here. I'm going to make it a little smoother. It's a subtle difference, but I like this much better. The problem with this is that the character is not actually moving yet. It's just the animation. This collision detector is staying at the same spot, only the animation is playing. But I think we've already done a lot for one video. I think I'm going to leave the physics part to the next video. So thanks for watching. I'll see you guys soon.